We are here at the Formula E circuit where we're looking at Tempelhof Airport, really steeped in German history, but really containing today the future potentially of automotive racing and Formula E. I mean, you can see the cars behind me just getting lined up there. And these cars, there's such a rate of change in terms of the technology going into these things. You know, acceleration from 0 to 60 in 1.82 seconds, faster than Formula One on that point. But where does this go as a business? How do you build a fan base? Well, we've got the right person to ask that question to. It's Jeff Dodds, the CEO of Formula E, who joins us now here at the race circuit.
Good morning. Welcome to Berlin.
Yeah, thanks so much. So listen, where are we right now on the journey for Formula E? We're 10 years in. You're 1 year into your tenure. Where do we stand?
So that's right. So Formula E started just 10 years ago. So we're effectively babies in the world of motorsport. Yeah. If you compare that to something like Formula One around 75 years old. So we're at the start of our journey. But of course we have this wonderful tailwind of electrification. When Formula E was started just 10 years ago, I think that year there were 300,000 electric vehicles sold across the globe. If you compare that to now this year, the estimate is around 18 million electric vehicles will be sold this year. So whilst it feels like we're still at the very early point of our journey, around 20% of all cars in the world sold are electric at the moment. We still have that kind of 80% ceiling we're pushing for.
Right, and part of that journey is going to be for you defining yourself not as just an alternative to Formula One. So how do you make it not the sort of beyond meat of Formula One? How are you positioning for that?
Yeah, so obviously everybody speaks to me. They speak to me about the comparisons with Formula One, which is perfectly logical because we're a world championship. We're single-seater racing cars and we're racing on tracks. But when Formula E was founded, it had three principles. One of those was to be an elite world championship racing series. So it was all about racing. And we would argue quite strongly we have the most competitive racing series in the world right now. But the two other ambitions were, one, the tech transfer, to develop latest electric vehicle technology, to be at the cutting edge of EV technology. And you see here racing today our manufacturer partners. So you see Porsche, Jaguar, Nissan, Mahindra, Stellantis, ERT. You see manufacturers and they're developing tech on the racetrack that will make its way into their road cars. And the third thing we founded for was sustainability. So we wanted to be a platform that could educate the world around climate change and the role that electric vehicles can play in decarbonising road transport. So three things.
And so, I mean, the rate of change has been absolutely breathtaking in the sport. I mean, you've doubled the horsepower in 10 years. The new car you're putting out at the end of the season is going to go, accelerate 30% faster. I mean, these are really breathtaking sort of changes in technology. What more is coming? What does the sport look like in a couple of years?
So the really simple answer to that is when you look at the car development, longer, faster. They're the two things people want to see. So today the racing in Formula E is about 40 to 50 minutes long, which actually is really interesting because it's really good for family viewing. So we're attracting a different audience to traditional motorsport, like Formula One where the race is about an hour and a half long. But we want to have the ability to race for longer in the future, and that means batteries with bigger capacity. And the second thing is faster. I mean, this is a motorsport. Everyone wants it to go faster. So you're right. We announced the car that will be on the track for next year will be 30% faster than the current Formula One car. 0 to 60 in 1.82 seconds, but also people like a bit of top-end speed as well. So these cars you see behind you here will go about 200 miles an hour at the top end. Over time, I would expect to see that go to 220, 230, 240. So the cars are getting faster, the batteries are getting bigger.
So here's the question, will it ever be faster than a Formula One car?
Well, it's already faster than the Formula One car.
In acceleration.
If we want it to, and I think one of the interesting, obviously for Bloomberg viewers who are very interested in business, one of the key things is the economic return on investment. So if you think about Formula E, the cost cap in Formula E, so the amount these teams can spend every year is around 13 million euros. That's all they can spend. If you compare that to Formula One, where the cost cap is about $140 million, so they have around 10% of the budget to play with. So of course, if I gave them a budget of 140 million euros, they could develop cars that would go much faster than Formula One cars with electric technology. But the reality is we view ourselves as an inclusive motorsport, not an exclusive one. This is not about the richest organisations in the world taking part. We want everyone to benefit.
Presumably you want to grow your sponsorship, you want to grow that base, you want to get more money in because it will bring more fans and it'll be a virtuous cycle.
At the right pace. We need to support our manufacturers here because a lot of them are using the racetrack as a laboratory to develop new technology. So it's about manufacturers and teams, it's about growing a fan base, and that's growing very quickly as you mentioned up front, and then it's about growing the total value of the organisation. But
where would you like that to be? Where would you like to see the total value in the next few years?
Well, so we don't talk about our value today publicly. We have two very large investors in Liberty Global, Warner Brothers Discovery. But as I say, this is a business that's only 10 years old.
Yeah.
So they're investing for what they believe the future of this business could be. I think fan base, though, is a good proxy.
Yeah.
So when I started about a year ago, the fan base in Formula E was about 290 million fans globally. As of now, the latest time we did the big survey, it was up to nearly 400 million fans. So around 30% growth in a year. This is a business that's growing exceptionally quickly.
And in terms of the other thing that you need to do is also attracting other OEMs, other manufacturers to the sport, right? There was Mercedes, BMW, they stepped back. What I'm surprised by is that there are not more Chinese automakers who have really dominated the EV race. Are you in conversations with them?
Oh yeah, of course. So you have the big Chinese automotive groups. So BYD now becoming prevalent across the world. In fact, I think the biggest EV manufacturer now in the world. Yeah. You've got Geely Group.
Could you see a BYD team in the next couple of years?
I could absolutely see a BYD team. I could see a Geely Group team like Lotus or Zeekr, SAIC, who obviously own brands like MG across the. So absolutely, I can see a Chinese team. We actually have two Chinese teams here. We have ERT, but we also have Envision.
What about a Tesla team?
I think Tesla's unlikely, and I'll tell you why I think it's unlikely. So all of the teams here are racing on a common battery. So I'm not sure that Tesla would be so keen to run on a battery that isn't their own. The second thing for Tesla, I would say, is they are the dominant force in the electric vehicle manufacture. They were the people that started it all pretty much with the Roadster. I'm not sure, they don't need the exposure, so they don't need the PR around it. And the final thing I would say is a lot of the teams here have been racing in Formula E for a long time. Tesla would not be competitive from day one, and I'm not sure how that would fit with their.
That sounds like a challenge to Elon Musk. It's always a dangerous thing to do.
It's never dangerous. I would love Elon to call me. I'm just not sure it will be top of their list.
And in terms of your fan base, and obviously growing a sport almost from scratch, where are you seeing the biggest pickup? Where are your biggest fans? Where are you the most successful right now?
So Southeast Asia, across China, we have over 100 million fans in China alone, so growing incredibly, to your point about the Chinese EV market growing. But our fan base is very different to motorsport traditionally. So if you think about our fan base, roughly split 50-50 male-female, that's incredibly different to motorsport. Roughly half of our fans are under the age of 40, and they all have an interest in climate change, sustainability, innovation and technology. So it's quite a different audience. So whilst it's growing quickly, it's growing outside of a traditional motorsport base.
Jeff Dodds, thank you so much. The CEO of Formula E, joining us here at Tempelhof Airport, the racetrack that's happening, the race happening this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, starting at 3 p.m. tomorrow. And as you can see, all the cars getting prepped and ready for the race tomorrow.